Hello, and welcome to another episode of Soft Girl Strong Mind. So, today I want to do something a little bit different because, we've been talking a lot about these deep concepts like, our mental highways, confirmation bias, and the Volkswagen principles. And I realized that, I'm talking about all these mindset stuff without actually sharing with you guys, my environment that I grew up in and why I was in survival mode in the first place. So I kind of want to take a few step backs and share with you guys my story, the environment I grew up in, and the reason why I got into survival mode before we start talking about what helped me get out of survival mode. So, in this first episode of sharing my story, I kind of want to talk about, growing up being Hispanic, because if you guys couldn't tell, I am fully Hispanic. And I know a lot of things that I'm going to be sharing with you guys kind of applies to a lot of cultures. And it seems that a lot of our struggles is kind of universal for a lot of people of color. For example, I love seeing Joy Coy's comedy specials, and they're so hilarious to me because a lot of the stuff that he talks about, a lot of the Filipino struggles that he mentions are identical to what we Hispanics go through. And I have friends that are Bengali and they tell me their struggles and it's similar to Hispanic struggles. So it seems like a lot of people of color kind of go through the same struggles. So if you're not Hispanic, I'm sure you will still relate to a lot of things that I will be talking about in this episode. So in Hispanic households, it's like a thing where our parents show us love through teasing. And what I mean by that is, they give us these nicknames and they're usually based on, your appearance or how you act or a very striking characteristic of you. And adults think these are harmless, but a lot of these nicknames are a little offensive. Like in translation, some of these nicknames can be fatty or shrimp or skinny or black or pale. And it always has to do with a flaw of yours. And a lot of the times, these could be your own insecurities that your parents make nicknames from. And it seems like parents are a little out of touch with being sensitive with kids. For example, I remember when I was a little girl, probably like 12 years old, and we had a family dinner at a restaurant, and I was eating a salad and I had Thousand Island dressing for the first time. And if you've had Thousand Island dressing, that shit is really fucking good. So it was the first time having it. It was so delicious. So, I was probably eating it like a little fast. And my dad made it a point to comment on, how fast I was eating. And he was like, "Ay, no, Ashley, te miras puro coche." And in translation, that's, "Oh my God, Ashley, you look like a pig." And I remember being so humiliated and so embarrassed. And my uncle, who was sitting next to me, was like, "Oh, come on, just let her eat. She's enjoying the food." But the damage had been done. And I remember not wanting to eat after that. Like, I was just so embarrassed. And unfortunately, that's like so normal in our culture to just pick on kids, specifically if it has to do with your weight. And even as you grow up, your parents still make it a point to comment on your physical appearance, because I remember I was in college and I would go home for the weekends to visit them. And unfortunately, the whole freshman 15 definitely got me. I definitely started gaining weight my freshman year. And I remember my dad jokingly like grabbed one of my love handles and he was like, "What is this?" And I remember feeling just so humiliated, even though it was just me, my dad, my mom, and my little sister. So it was just immediate family nearby. But I don't know, it's just not a good feeling when even immediate family has to point out your weight. And it's not just when you're overweight, it's when you're underweight too. Like when I was a little kid, I was always really chunky, and my parents always made it a point to remind me that I was a little bit on the chunkier side. But then my little sister, she's like naturally skinny. She could eat whatever she wants and she stays very, very lean. And they would pick on how she was too skinny. So for me, I was like too overweight, but then my little sister's like too underweight. And it just created this tension because it seemed like they were just never satisfied with anyone's weight. And for the longest time, I felt like, oh my God, my parents just need something to complain about. You know, as kids, you internalize all these comments that they think are harmful, but you know, their comments create body image issues and shame around your body. And sure, you could make the argument that, you know, this teasing culture creates thick skin and builds character, but it also makes you suppress your emotions and hide parts of yourself. And looking back at it now, I feel like our parents were able to just brush these off as jokes because if you really think about it, most of our parents didn't really have a childhood. Like they never had a chance to be kids. You know, a lot of immigrant parents had to grow up really, really fast. So they might not know what it's like to be scared or vulnerable or embarrassed because they had to grow up fast. And also, teasing was probably normal for them. You know, I'm sure their parents gave them nicknames and humiliated them. So they grew up thinking that this is the norm, that this is how you show love and affection. But when you're a first generation kid, you grow up in this weird in between because you're growing up with Hispanic traditions, but then outside the house, you're seeing this completely different culture. So while our parents might see teasing as a way of showing love, we are also aware that not everyone grew up this way. And that tension of growing up with our culture's tradition that might not be the healthiest and seeing other cultures grow up differently can cause this big disconnect within us. And that leads to something that I want to talk about in the next episode, which is a disconnect that can happen between immigrant parents and kids that grew up in a completely different world. So stay tuned for that.